Hello. It's been a roller coaster couple of weeks for Pompey, so however you have us plugged into your ears, please enjoy the latest Play Up podcast. I'm Scott McLachlan, and for this week's pod, I'm joined by three fellow Pompey fans to discuss an eventful couple of weeks since we last met, one of whom is making a guest appearance. The usual Play Up podcast stalwarts, Phil Sands and Reece Percival are here, and it's always great to hear their views. Welcome, chaps.
Good evening.
Hope you're well. And to discuss the last three games and Pompey season so far, I'm delighted to say we have joined by YouTube phenomenon and BBC correspondent Tom Chappell from Fournilwrittenalloverit. Welcome, Tom.
We can stick with the phenomenon. Yeah, I had what did I have a couple of weeks? I had YouTube sensation a few weeks ago as well. I was like, oh, that is absolutely wonderful. Completely selling me up. Thank you for having me, guys.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm glad I went down the right road with that, with the phenomenon. Let's see what other adjectives we can come up over the course of the pod. So we start with the away trip to Portland Road, where Pompey were looking to recover from an abysmal performance at home against Sheffield Wednesday the week before. Chaplin was unavailable, so in came Yang Min-hyuk and Mark Kosnowski in attack, LaRue in midfield, Knight at the back, and Bursk in goal, all for their first starts. Pompey conceded early when Philogene was left to run at the defence and curl a great shot into the far corner to give Ipswich the lead. Hurst then had a half chance from a long ball over the defence, which was crossed low into him, but he scuffed his shot wide. A Hurst flick on then sent Smodics away on goal, but despite having a chance to shoot, he hesitated and the defence smothered him. Pompey's best chance came when the ball broke to Segicic, who split the defence with a pass and put Yang through on goal. However, he delayed his shot and it was easily saved. Ipswich doubled their lead before half-time with a Hurst tap-in from a Davis cross. In the second half, it was just a case of damage limitation for Pompey, it seemed. They survived a host of chances for Ipswich, with Azon hitting the post with a couple of minutes to go. Amazingly, Pompey hit back in injury time from a pack header from a corner, but it was definitely just a consolation. Tom, you were there, so we can dive straight in with you. What were your thoughts of the game? I mean, obviously, one thing you did mention in your video as you were leaving the ground is that you were worried that you saw some bad habits resurfacing.
Yeah, I mean, not as much in the sort of terms of bad habits where we'd go away from home and concede 3, 4, 5 in the space of 20 minutes, but sort of that not really trying new things on the road, which I think at Fratton Park, the next two games that we'll talk about, I've been really pleased to see that Pompey have been trying different things. And even if they might not come off and come to anything in terms of a material chance or clear-cut opportunity, at least we're kind of doing the right things. At Ipswich, I don't think we did any of the right things until Marlon Pack came onto the pitch. And I remember saying it, I felt it was quite a dreary afternoon up until, or thoroughly unenjoyable, I think I said, afternoon and up until Marlon came on. And actually the sort of the switch in the game, and you're right, it was very much a consolation, but the switch in the game actually came from a really unlikely source of Marlon Pack and John Swift coming on. And when he made the substitutions, I thought, well, blimey, that's, you would be expecting that if we were winning and consolidating away from home, not the opposites. Yeah, I just felt, and quite often you kind of, in the Championship in particular, I was speaking on Three Lads in the Pub about this, sometimes you do just have to hold your hands up and go, these guys are a brilliant side, and I'd be amazed if there will be many teams that finish above Ipswich that don't end up playing Premier League football next season. I think they really are that good, and we kind of caught them at a time where everything's just starting to fall into place. Obviously, big derby win for them. Couple of weekends after playing us, or weekend after playing us. So wins in their sails, really going great guns. I think that Philogene's absolutely immense and is a player that is not belonging at this level, certainly. So yeah, I just think sometimes you do have to go, they were the better side, no issue. But equally, I did want to see a little bit more from us. I wanted to see us try things that we've tried in subsequent games. Not saying that we didn't turn up, but just, yeah, I think there's obviously naturally sort of, you're going to see the gap in the quality between these two sides, and I think we saw that. But yeah, just mix it up away from home. I think that would be the biggest area of improvement for me.
Well, one of the notes I made was, were Ipswich too full of quality, or did we just not turn up? It was probably a bit of both, really, wasn't it?
I think you're completely right. I think when you look at, everyone knows how brilliant George Hurst was for us, and I think, in personally my sort of living memory as a Pompey fan, he's probably the most improved low knee I think we've ever really had. I mean, he'd started out his career at Pompey on a really sort of slow note, and then by the end we were absolutely begging Leicester to send it back to us. So yeah, we all know what he's about. I mentioned Philogene there. Dar O'Shea, there's just so much experience in that side. And naturally, although, players have come and gone over the summer, I still think it's a side that's litters with Premier League quality, and a side that I very much expect to be up there this season. I'd be amazed if many teams go to Portman Road and get an awful lot. You look at how Sheffield United were absolutely torn to shreds on a Friday night a couple of weeks ago, 5-0. Philogene, the absolute star there that night, scored against Norwich after they played us. So we caught him running really hot on form. But equally, as you say, Scott, Swanson back post, I feel like I say that far too much. I was saying it at Oxford away from home on the opening day, Swanson back post, as people around me saying it as well. So yeah, I think when you've got someone like a Jayden Philogene, who's probably the best at what he does at this level in his position, you got to be absolutely on your mettle. And I think the only way that Pompey were really going to get anything out of that Ipswich game, Scott, is if we were absolutely on our peak performance level, and if Ipswich were having an off day. I think that would be the only levelling of the playing field, and sadly that didn't happen a week and a half ago.
No, probably not. And that's probably, Phil, down to, 5 changes. And I could see why Mousinho had done that. He was preparing for 3 matches in 7 days, and he was probably wanting to play a particular way because he knew that Murphy was probably not going to return for, if not 2, maybe 3 of those matches. So he had to think of something different, which is why we've ended up with Yang on the left. Too many changes. Different. Well, exactly. It wasn't good. That's the truth. And I think did he sacrifice that game a little bit?
You sort of felt that was possibly the case. One of my friends sent me a message when the team sheet came out with 3 words, which was Carabao Cup game, and that's what the sort of that's what it looked like. The formation we put out, the players we put out, and it was one of those. I think we were talking about it, Scott. It kind of reminded us a little bit of Bristol City away. In that it was let's not pick up injuries. Let's concentrate on the next game because it's coming up soon, and it was worrying. But then, as Tom says, you've got to give Ipswich credit. They were my tip at the beginning of the season to win the championship. It took a little while to get started. Across the pitch, they just had quality that we, through no fault of our own, just don't have. And as I think you said, everyone's got to be on their A game to get anything out of a match like that. And sadly, we weren't.
No, long way short of that. But Reece, I think obviously Yang impressed on the afternoon, certainly in the first half. Do you think it was too much for Kosnowski on the right there? He didn't really know how to play there, and I think Tom mentions the being left, Philogene being left at the right back. Was he told to double up? Do you think, and didn't do it, or did he just misread the game?
Mm-hmm. If he did, he didn't do it. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not quite sure what his best position is, and I'm not. We said this earlier in one of the podcasts. Well, I think we got a lot of players who, certainly a couple of weeks ago, we're still trying to work out where is their actual best position. Actually, who should play where, and I don't think it's necessarily nailed down. It looks certainly a lot better, but yeah, I mean, I've never been impressed with Swanson, and that shows how he can give one of the best left wingers 5 yards of space. I just don't know. I mean, surely basic defending is get close to your man, and he just sat back, and it's 1-0 down. It's one of those frustrating ones where actually we played all right up until then, and then we make a silly mistake, and as we all know, they're a very, very good team. I think somebody said they sold £70 million worth of talent and then bought another 50 over the summer, which I mean, Fratton Park and the club probably isn't worth 50 million. So it was men against boys on paper, and it showed that to be. But yeah, I was never a fan of Swanson, and I think the fact the lineups for the next couple of games probably showed that the manager agrees with me. But yeah, it was disappointing. But there aren't many away games where the man of the match for Pompey is a substitute who comes on with 20 minutes ago and almost scores on the halfway line. So I think that kind of sums it up.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You mentioned the right back place because obviously Williams and Swanson seem to be interchangeable. Tom, you get to speak to people at the club a lot more than any of us. So, is there a fitness or long short-term injury with the two of them, where they have to keep being saved for a bit, or is it just horses for courses?
Yeah, I don't paint the picture that I'm some sort of Fabrizio Romano, because I'm absolutely not. I get the occasional chat with a few people at the club, and I don't know if you saw, Scott, we're lucky enough to be joined by John Messino next week.
I am very excited.
Get a chance to pose a few questions to him. Yeah, I think I'm probably a bigger Swanson fan than Reece is, or than Reece's outline there. I think he's always struck me as a bit of a big game player. I always remember that Cassini Yengi winner away at Peterborough. I remember his performance away at Tottenham. And actually, more recent memory, the South Coast Derby, I thought Swanson was exquisite. And then equally, you see him go and drop a performance like he does away at Portman Road, which I think is rather infuriating. And I think from his point of view, you're competing in a department right now as right back, as you say, where you've got really really strong advocates there right now. I think, Jordan Williams as a kind of an all-round package, you'd probably say is the best right back at the club. I think Terry Devlin just gives you that. I mean, he can play anywhere, as we all know, but he gives you that brute strength and just physicality and absolutely no nonsense, gets the job done. And then Swanson strikes me as a little bit more of a sort of, quite your modern day Premier League Academy graduate with a little bit of flair, but also still with lots of gaps to his game. And I remember Jordan Williams having an absolutely brilliant game at home to Stoke last season in the 3-1 win. Then we went up to West Brom, and I'm not saying anyone had a good day in that 5-1 defeat, but that was genuinely one of the worst right-back performances I think I've ever seen from a single player ever in Jordan Williams. I thought he was absolutely awful. So although it's a strong department, and as you say, tinkerings and injuries, etc., Pompey seemingly have a really massive issue of hamstring problems at the minute. And I know Swanson's had issues with his groin that's kind of meant that his Pompey career, I don't know whether you describe it as stop-start, but it certainly hasn't been free-flowing, and he hasn't played game after game after game. I don't know what the numbers are off the top of my head, but I don't feel like we've seen a fully fledged fit Swanson season, nor have we seen a fully sort of fit Jordan Williams season. Maybe case in point why Terry Devlin comes in and starts A, deputising, and then B, starting as our right back at certain times. So yeah, I think although it's one of the stronger positions at the football club, I still think there's a lot of chopping and changing. We're in a position right now whereby I don't think John Messino is quite working with his number one best 11. I think if you asked him who he preferred to go with right back, he'd probably say something like, well, it depends on which game we're playing and the opposition in front of us. But maybe in his half hearts, he might go Jordan Williams, and I'd probably back him on that as well.
Yeah, good summation there. So we'll move on to slightly happier times. An evening under the lights at Fratton Park is always special. And in order to try and stop an early season slump, Messino shuffled his pack again, literally, by returning Marlon Pat to the team for his first start of the season. Chaplin and Swift also came back in, with Yang keeping his place on the left. It was Pack's long throw which created Pompey's first goal, the ball bouncing across the box to the South Korean, who volleyed into the bottom corner. Pack then himself hit a shot from 25 yards that Selvik in the Watford goal awkwardly pushed away. Yang then had another chance when Williams crossed from the right after a quick Pompey break, but his snapshot was tipped over. Just before half-time, Dazelle flashed a shot across the box, and Pompey went down the tunnel, having produced their best half of football in a while. That was sadly undone in 10 minutes, when almost from the kick-off, Pompey lost the ball in midfield and Watford broke to allow Loser to equalise. Then Varta deflected a save from Bursic into the net to give Watford the lead. Pompey again undone by very sloppy play. It then became very frantic as Messino made changes to try and salvage the match. The dynamic Devlin whipped a cross in for Swift to poke a shot wide, and it was one of the other subs in Segicic who got Pompey the equaliser. Blair got himself in a tangle on the edge of the box, but managed to hook the ball to Swift, whose block shot was pounced on by Segicic, who blasted the ball into the corner. A point gained when a more disciplined Pompey may have got all 3 points. So, Reece, was that a point gained or 2 points lost?
I think based on the first half, it should have been. It was 2 points lost, but then you look at the second half and how we capitulated. You're probably grateful for the point. It was just one of those games. It was just so frustrating that we put in such a good performance, and I mean, I've been a big vocal kind of opponent to Pack in the fact that he's a great player, but I just didn't think he could cope with the physicality of the championship. And in 2 games, he's proved me wrong, because him, Dazelle, and Swift looked really good. We were just passing it so much better. We looked more flowing. We looked more confident on the ball. Yang looked a lot better. I think Williams was really good on the right, and I think we had certainly several chances where we should have been at least 2 up, possibly 3 going into half time, and then just lack of concentration, lack of start. I don't know what it was, but Swift gave the ball and they down the other end, and it just exposed us that our kind of fullbacks seemed to be pushing up quite a lot, and certainly with the second goal as well. Ogilvy was caught out again, and it was a long punt. But it just shows we don't have much pace in the centre of defence. But it was just so disappointing considering how well we played. To literally within 30 seconds we were undone by sloppy play and then pace, and it was a good goal. And Swift was guilty of giving the ball away quite a lot, and I appreciate he hasn't played there much, but I was amazed he was still on the pitch, to be honest. But yes, to go 2-1 down, the whole place, the whole atmosphere just totally changed, and you could just feel it getting to the players, and the atmosphere was pretty dead after that point. But thankfully, I think this year we do have a little bit more strength in depth, and I think that's where bringing on kind of like Segacic kind of enabled us to get something out of the game, because when he hits it with his left peg, he hits it usually, and he's got a great kind of say shot on him, but he has in the last few days I think just been a little bit caught out, hasn't been up to the speed of the play. But Blair came on, I think he did okay. I mean, I think he just needs to get a few games in. He didn't give up. He got was involved in the equaliser. So, yeah, end of the first half. Crikey, it's 2 points lost, but actually at full time, I think it was a fair result. And I think Watford are just one of those teams that maybe nothing special, but they are really, really physical. They're quite quick and they break pretty quickly. I think we were hoping for three points. I think when we did the last pod and we predicted how many points we would get, we thought 4 points, but I don't think we were expecting to maybe lose or draw against Watford at home.
I think we did caveat that, to be honest, Reece. I think we did say it would be typical Pompey to draw with Watford and then go on to beat Borough on the Saturday, because that's what happened last year with Leeds and Plymouth. Phil, Reece mentions the return of Captain Marlon. I think he's brought the leadership and organisation we've sadly been missing the last sort of 2 or 3 games. And when they put a performance in like that against Ipswich, I think it was crying out for him to come in and pull a few socks up and cuff a few players around the ear and sort things out.
Definitely, I think you need characters like him on the pitch, and I think without him, it's what we're lacking. I don't want to dig Colby out, but he's not. I don't think he's. I've never been a fan of sort of centre forwards taking on the captain's responsibility. I don't know anyone who says, "Do you know what? I love it when a striker's the captain." I've never heard anyone say that. It's quite funny how the sort of the mushies who were saying Pack should never play for us again are now saying he has to be the first name on the team sheet. But yeah, he played very well. I thought the biggest thing I took from that game, and it was a big frustration, and ironically now that the unfortunate Watford manager's been given the boot, I thought he out-tacticked, as Sam Allardyce once said, Mousinho. The changes that he made introduced a bit more pace into the game. It was our undoing. I think it's great when we play the press. It's great when our forwards play the press. But the problem we were doing was because, as Reece touched on, is the fullbacks and the central midfield pressing so high up the pitch. And if you've got the quality, or not even the quality, just the nous to play around or over or through the press, you've got pacey forwards. And if you're a defender, as we said, our back foot is not the fastest. If you're a defender that we've got at the moment, and you're faced with a pacey attacker, you want to be standing back from them. You want a bit of space between them and you, so you can show them. You can show them wide, or you can show them inside. You can show them onto their wrong foot. What you don't want is someone already accelerating past you and you playing catch up. That's where the games come. That's where the goals came from. So yeah, it was. I would agree. It really did feel like a point lost.
Yeah, for both goals, you watch the replays and you don't see either full-back in the picture until the goal's in the back of the net, and that was the problem. We lost the ball. I mean, I didn't even see the first goal. I was too busy fumbling about for some. I'd put something in my bag and I was trying to get it out again, and I turned around and the ball was in the back of the net. So yeah, it was really disappointing. I was going to say, so it's good to see Blair back. I'm personally a massive fan of him, but also Segacic doesn't score tap-ins, does he?
No, and I don't know where I heard him say it, but it was on an interview, it might have been with Andy Moon a couple of weeks ago, where he just said, as soon as I get the ball in that position of the pitch, I'm just always going to shoot. And I think two sides of the same coin, that either makes him incredibly predictable and everyone knows what he's going to do, or it means that he's always got an eye for goal and there's always an opportunity that might be able to come from it. Yeah, I agree with you. I really like Harvey Blair. I think there's a very good chance we don't get back into that game without him on the pitch. So that's a real positive. Obviously, Adrian Segacic involved as well. But it's through Harvey Blair's sheer endeavour that I think that opening is created for us to get back into it. I don't think you're the only one, Scott, that would have missed that goal. I don't think you see us concede many goals inside sort of whatever it was, 25, 30 seconds at Fratton Park. I think overall my thoughts on the Watford game are that it's kind of a reflection of where we are right now as a team and as a club. You've got moments where you think, actually, yeah, this is looking really good. We're playing some really lovely stuff. But then there's also gaping holes, and we've got to do so much about being braked on at home at Fratton Park because, as already been mentioned, neither our defenders nor our midfielders are particularly pacey. So if you've got a big physical team, and let's not forget, we've had 3 teams in this week, and I know we're into the international break and players are all back in training today, so it's kind of past us. But that week of games whereby you've got Ipswich, Watford and Middlesbrough, and Reece outlined how physical and strong Watford were quite rightly, but you've also got Ipswich and Borough that I think were equally just as quick and speedy and pacey and physical. So I think Messino highlighted it in his post-match chat after Borough, and it's not me jumping forward again, but you have had a week where you've probably played 3 of the most physical teams in the division, and for us to come out having not humiliated ourselves by any stretch of the imagination, I think is really good. You mentioned how good we were in the first half. I think, it's always gutting when you resurrect from a winning position, but if you're going to give away 2 sloppy goals, and why is the first half not more profitable in terms of goals our way? Why are we going into games at Fratton Park 1-0 up when we've played so well? Can we not go and look to get the second and third? And maybe on another night we do. I thought it was quite exciting at the end, bit of late drama. Looked like both teams could maybe go on and nick it right at the end. They ended up not doing so. Yeah, I just think Watford was one of those bizarre nights where you feel like it's all going really well first half, and then all of a sudden the game's completely spun on its head. You're talking about the Watford manager there as well. Well, the former Watford manager now, Paolo Pezzolano, who takes off Nestor and Rancuna, and I don't know where you guys are all situated in Fratton Park, but it's very audible from where we were from the Watford fans chanting that he was going to be sacked in the morning. Obviously, They weren't far off with that. Now we know hindsight's a wonderful thing. But actually, the player that replaces him, Vata, then goes and assists the equaliser and scores their second goal. So you're quite right in what you say, that we have been completely outfoxed and out-footballed by the Watford manager, who no longer has his job. How weird is the Championship? I just think to go from all of a sudden they want the manager gone, and then within an hour he's the best man to walk the streets of Watford is maybe a bit of a reflection of the crazy game we all love called football.
I think with Watford, you could rightfully, the fans could rightfully chant you're being sacked in the morning several times a season, and they'll inevitably be right at least twice a season.
Absolutely.
That's just the way the club is run. Phil, you wanted to say something?
Just a mention on I'm not even going to try and pronounce this. I always get his name wrong. Pezzolano, is it Pezzolano? Yeah, a friend of mine pointed out that Watford sacking their managers, 15 coaches they've sacked since 2019. There's only been 14 Dalai Lamas since 1391.
What a stat.
Much better recruitment strategy.
Not even Milan Mandaric was that prolific, was he? Bless him. We'll talk about Milan later. Go on, Reece.
Watford's still owned by the Italian
family.
When Zola was there and all that lark. So
yeah, it's the Pozzo family. They just I think it's Javi Grazia they've recruited again. I mean they must pay a lot.
Well,
certainly in severance package.
Saying contracts being paid up. Yes, but I was just going to mention Bishop. I know he's not getting the goals at the moment, but he does put in a shift, and he never gives up. He plays for 90 minutes, and I think there's always with the Pompey squad team, there's always somebody who's going on the end of the fan stick, and I think he's over the years he's been on the end of some of that, but he's always proved us wrong eventually, and I just hope he continues doing what he's doing, and just continues being an absolute pain in the backside, because he really does put a shift in, and he doesn't necessarily get the plaudits, especially when he's not scoring goals. But I'm sure he will come good.
No, well, that was one of my AOBs, so we'll push it up the pod a little bit. Tom, he obviously thrives when he's got Murphy on the left wing, and the goal at West Brom is symptomatic of how those two work together. But I think he's also missing Lang, because I think Lang allows his busy work allows Chaplin to get that more. Sorry, Chaplin. I'm talking about Colby Bishop to get that more space, and we'll talk about Chaplin later as well. So he's not getting that space. He is one against 2 or 3 defenders at the moment. So is he going to be able to adapt this season if we don't see Murphy, or are we just going to have to make sure we get Murphy back for him to score goals?
I think Murphy will be back, which is good. And I have quite a close relationship with the Bishop family, and have chatted to Colby or been lucky enough to chat to Colby on a number of occasions. And I think I wouldn't call it slander, criticism of Colby Bishop for me is incredibly tiresome. And that's not just because I like the guy, and it's not because he's got a wonderful group of people around him, but successive managers at this football club, Danny Cowley, John Messino I regard as one of this country's brightest current young coaches, plays him literally every single minute he's available for. And you can't be a mug if you're getting that man to buy into you as much as he does. And I think his numbers speak absolute volume. But at the minute, as Reece and you've just outlined there, he is a bit of a consequence of the way Pompey are playing right now without the likes of Josh Murphy and Callum Lang available to us. And I think Messino's even recognised that in a couple of post-match pressers recently, is that, Colby's being asked to go up against these experienced Championship defenders. And, we know that Colby likes a physical battle. I think, and this might not be as quick of a fix as I'm about to suggest it is, but if Colby just takes his hands off the defenders that he's muscling with, I think he's 9 times out of 10 going to get more fouls than he's getting at the moment. Because from a neutral referee point of view, all the ref is seeing is 2 pairs of arms wrapping round, and it's both holding 50-50 and play goes on. And then sometimes there's a little bit of a fall to the ground, and then by and large, a ref is always going to favour your defensive side. So I see no issue with the way that the fouls are given against Colby, and people go, he gets battered around, etc. Yes, he does. But there is a little bit of Colby in there doing the dirty work as well that I think maybe goes unnoticed. You're so right to highlight the West Brom goal. That is literally absolute. And I think the word symptomatic describes it brilliantly, is that is Colby Bishop's bread and butter. That is exactly what he's there to do. And Murphy providing the balls in. At the moment, you're looking at the wingers that Pompey are relying on, your Bianchinis, your Yangs, I think 2 very talented footballers, and Yang's had a fantastic week. I'm sure we'll speak about him in more detail in a bit, but they aren't Josh Murphy and they aren't Callum Lang. And actually also, you could argue they haven't been playing in the team for as long to work with Colby Bishop as, say, Murphy or Lang do, and they haven't got that almost telepathic footballing understanding that I'm sure they all share. So yeah, I think in a minute, and as Reece has said, Colby's going to come good. He's going to go on a scoring run again, and all the naysayers will keep nice and quiet. But right now, he's in a little bit of a dry patch, and hopefully that ends sooner rather than later, hopefully with the return of Josh Murphy coinciding with that as well.
Yeah, let's hope he gets a hat-trick at Leicester.
Fingers crossed.
So, Pompey had the chance 3 days later to right the wrongs of Wednesday night, but the visitors Middlesbrough had not lost a game all season so far. There was the added spice of a scummer playing for Borough in Matt Targett, and the crowd let him know it every opportunity. Messino kept the same starting 11 for the midweek game, which meant Yang kept his left wing place with Chaplin on the right. Yang continued to add to his growing reputation by cutting the ball back for Chaplin to hit a shot which was heading into the corner, but for a deflection from the defender. He then scored in a similar fashion to Wednesday when he arrived onto a great cross from Williams, placing a precise volley on target that the keeper could not keep out. In the second half, Pompey this time kept the concentration levels high, and a further chance for Chaplin came when the ball was worked into space for him to run on goal. But his shot from outside the box fizzed just wide. Borough huffed and puffed, but did not create anything that troubled Bursick in goal, and Pompey had that impressive victory to ease any worries of an early slump, and went into the international break with 3 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses, sitting in 14th place. Phil, all yours for the very tight but victorious affair we had with Borough.
Yeah, it's a funny one because it on paper, obviously, the best result of the 3 games. I'd say the best 45 minutes for me was the first half against Watford, but it was a great performance. I think we were all a bit nervous going into this game, and then with the sort of the the sort of the failings of the Watford game, and then the team sheet coming out. We're in the car on the way to the pub before the game, and we were all picking our team for the match. We'd all had various different combinations of players across the front four, and then my daughter had got it on her phone. That's an unchanged lineup. I'm like, is it? No, I couldn't believe it. Which was quite worrying. By and large, it worked. I think we played Middlesbrough at a good time. They'd had our friends up the road, then had to travel back up to Middlesbrough and then back down to play us. So you could see they looked a bit leggy, but that's not to take away from a real battling performance. I mean, the headline's going to be Yang, obviously, and it was almost a carbon copy of his goal against Watford. The way that he took the ball, that was the technique to strike a ball that's coming across him at speed, and he's moving towards the ball also at speed, and he manages to make a clean contact, keep the ball low, and keep the pace on it. I mean, it was a technically perfect goal, and he was obviously over the moon, as they say. But yeah, in terms of technique, absolutely outstanding. I thought Chaplin looked a lot better. He clearly shouldn't be playing wide, and he clearly wants. You can say he just wants that goal. He really wants that goal. And the two efforts, the one that was, as you say, was deflected slightly wide, and the one that just sort of went wide of the post, you were kind of trying to suck them into the net because I think once he gets that sort of monkey off his back, this first goal of his sort of return spell with the club, I think he'll go on to greater things. I wish he'd play a bit closer to Bishop. I'd rather see him playing off of Bishop. I think Bishop, as Tom was talking about, Bishop's facets are the fact that he's good at getting on the end of balls, which he absolutely is when you've got Murphy supplying the crosses, but also that ability to hold the ball up and knock the ball off. And I think a lot of people criticise him. The ball's just going nowhere. But the ball's going nowhere because there's no one there to get to it. No one that's played in the 10 role since Lang got injured has played close enough to him, and I find that quite frustrating. I thought the press, I'd mentioned earlier about the way we pressed. I think we were a bit more circumspect with the way we applied it. The fullbacks sat slightly deeper, and I think that was to our advantage. The back four played really well. Williams was outstanding again. Knight looked so composed. Again, not the pace, but he reads the game really well. You don't feel you're missing shot to see with him in the side. I thought Pack and Dizelle in the middle were excellent together. And it's maybe a little unfair on Leroux. Leroux has looked very sharp when he's played, does everything well, but you can't see anyone dislodging Pack and Dizelle at the moment. I think it's the shirts are for, the positions for them to lose, so to speak. Swift, again, another frustrating performance. You can see that he's got talent, you can see that he's got class, and you can see that he knows how to pick a pass out. But for me, he's just so lackadaisical on the ball. The number of times that he gets caught in possession I'd forgive someone like Harvey Blair for that because he doesn't have the experience. But Swift's an experienced operator at this level, and I just don't know why it's not clicking for him at the moment. Personally, I would take him out of the side for the next game. I'd play Chaplin in the middle, and if as we all hope, Murphy's back, Murphy one side and Yang the other. I thought when Kosnowski came on, actually, we saw him that's probably the best he's played for us. I think he looked quite lively, quite determined, didn't look out of place in the middle. But it was one of those when the board went up, I think it was 6 minutes time added on, sinking feeling of, we know what's coming next, but it didn't. And I think that was a combination of dogged defending and a Middlesbrough team that were sort of dead on their feet by the end of the game. But yeah, great win.
Also, Mousinho name-checked the crowd again for getting us over the line. He matched it with the Oxford win last season, where we were chanting Blue Army for a good 10 minutes to make sure the team saw the win out, and we did that again against Borough. We sense at Fratton Park, don't we, when a team needs a bit of an energy injection and a bit of a helping hand up, and we always deliver on that, which makes us one of the best grounds and the best crowds in the country. Unfortunately, Reece, I was going to ask you about Chaplin and Swift, but I think Phil's covered all that quite succinctly. But the question I was going to pose was promising signs or square pegs in round holes. So you can have a go at it if you want.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both actually. But as I said earlier, over the last kind of 5 games, or actually since the start of the season, we have been we've got this great squad, but it seems to be amalgamated through getting better quality in through the door because they're available. I don't think we were going after Chaplin until we found out he was available very last minute, and the club went to get some funding to get him through the door. but there hasn't quite been a kind of a strategy of this is how we're going to play this season. It's very much we need to get more quality in, and we all know we've had to, but it is showing signs of things getting a bit better. I can't recall whether Swift played in the number 10 role for West Brom just before he joined us, but he has looked a bit out of sorts. But I think, do we know where Segic's best position is? Probably not. So I think there's still going to be a little bit of maybe playing players in different positions, but maybe not as many changes now as things start to settle down, and maybe we will see, say, players getting into their groove, and yeah, I think we're starting to settle down a bit, and I think the last few performances have shown that. So,
well, I mean, I can't believe we've done 38 minutes already. It's going to be a hell of a bumper pod this week, and that's fair enough because we've got a lot to discuss. So, just before we go to the quiz, Tom, your last BBC article was saying that you feel that Pompey's season's now begun. So, is that what? I mean, obviously, that's what the Borough win gave you. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of sort of a byproduct of a conversation that I had, or an end product of a conversation I had with someone at Fratton Park before the Watford game, actually. And we were basically saying to each other that we don't really feel like our season's properly got going yet. And I think then as an eventuality after a Borough win, which is the sort of the headline grabber that's not quite as exciting as the Leeds one because of the time that it came and where we were in the season and where Leeds were in their season and eventual promotions to the Premier League, of course. But it's a scalp, and it's one of those that pricks ears up around the Championship all over the country. I think that Pompey have beaten the then unbeaten side in the division, or one of the unbeaten sides in the division, Middlesbrough, and the team that were top of the league at the time. I just feel like it's been probably through no fault of ours in terms of international breaks, but we had a really good sort of start up to South Coast Derby. Then we had maybe 4 games where it was a little bit indifferent. And then now I think we saw a Pompey side that, as we've mentioned, with the added time, displayed the minerals to get to the end of the game and come out with the 3 points intact, which I think is great against a really, really good side, tired as they may be, as has been outlined. And yeah, I think in the first half against Watford, we gave the ball away. We weren't punished for it. In the second half, we gave the ball away. We were royally punished for it. Whereas the Borough game, I thought we were excellent in every single department, particularly defensively. I think against the ball, actually, that's probably one of the better performances we've seen, or certainly the best of the season. I certainly think it's the best win of the season. And I now really hope that we can kick on and go on from here. One of the kind of the buzzwords around the whole defeat to Ipswich in the press from both Captain Marlon Pack and John Messina was that this squad lacks a little bit of belief. I think a win against Middlesbrough can give you that belief that you then need to go on and kick on. And it's why I kind of outlined it as the official start to our season, because I think there's a real opportunity to kick on now and start hopefully putting a string of wins together.
Yeah, I think we saw that with possibly the Hull draw last season, didn't we? I think that was
Correct.
when we really started to say, right, we can do it at this level. And then Lang started scoring goals for fun, and as did Murphy, and we really had a good run up until Christmas, didn't we? Yeah. So let's do the quiz, Phil. I know you've been managed to smash this out on Monday, so I've been waiting all week to find out what it is.
Not a last minute scramble as it usually is.
No.
So the man of the moment, Yang Min Hyuk. Like most of you, I would imagine your first thought when he scored, when he made his Pompey debut is he's got to be the first and only South Korean international to play the league game for Pompey. And he was. So my next thought was then, are there enough similar players that I can use to form the basis of a quiz? And there are.
Yikes.
Yes. So this is what we're going to do. Reece, I can see you're already worried. All you've got to do is pick a number between 1 and 18. I will tell you the country, and you just have to tell me the name of the only player who has played for that country's national team and also made a league appearance for Pompey. And I'll warn you that some of these
might be 2 hours long now.
Some of these are going to be very, very easy. Some of them are going to be decidedly tricky, and you better hope the scores aren't level at full time because a tie break is fiendish. So,
just to be clear, these players, they played one game for Pompey and loads that, is that correct?
They've played They have played a league game for Pompey, at least one league game.
At least, right, okay, fine.
At least one
Okay.
league game, and they played at least one full international for their chosen country.
Oh, good God.
And as our special guest, Tom, obviously you get to pick off. So if you could pick a number between 1 and 18.
Go for 17, please.
Number 17, Bosnia and Herzegovina.
The only player I could name you from even that part of the world is probably Robert Prosinecki. But I know he's not Bosnia. He's Croatian, isn't he?
Got him.
Have you got it?
I think so, yeah.
Go on. You go for it,
Reece.
Is
Steal
it
my
Stevanovic?
points.
Is it Stevanovic?
No, he was Serbian.
Oh,
You got to be really careful.
no,
You'll start another war off.
I thought I had it.
It was Asmir Begovic. 17 appearances for Pompey and 63 caps for Bosnia. So, Reece, you're up next.
God, this is going to be a long one. 8, please.
Number 8. You're going for the difficult ones to start with. Tanzania, Reece.
My God.
Ooh.
Collins Basumba.
No. Tom's face is lit up.
I just had a feeling. Is Haji Minoga from Tanzania?
He is, Tom. If only you'd picked number 8, you'd have got a point, but well
that
done.
Well done, Tom.
Right, over to you, Scott. Sorry, 18 games for Pompey, 14 for Tanzania.
I will go for number 1.
Number 1, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm worried because I think this is one of the easiest.
You'll kick yourself. You will kick yourself.
Fairly recent or Premiership?
Premier League days.
Premier League days.
God. No, pass.
Go on, Tom.
It's got to be Shaka, isn't it?
It was Shaka. 100.
I am notoriously
appearances
rubbish
for
at these
Pompey
quizzes.
and 26 for Trinidad and Tobago. Right, Tom, we're back to you again.
Oh, sorry. Number 2.
Number 2, Iceland.
God, these are tough ones.
Herman's
Yes.
Icelandic.
He is indeed.
Does that mean it's got to be more than one appearance? Did he play? Has he ever played for Iceland though?
Yeah, he's played 89 times for Iceland and 123 for Pompey.
Oh yeah, he has.
It's not a very big island, is it?
He's actually an Icelandic legend. I just didn't know it.
The man who's single-handedly responsible for my marriage, but that's a story for another day.
Oh wow, I would like to hear that story at some point.
Right, over to you, Reece.
I'll go for 18, please.
Number 18. This is undoubtedly the most difficult one, Reece.
Brilliant.
Guatemala.
Not a clue. I honestly couldn't even. I know one or two players from that from kind of South America, but the ones I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure were from Guatemala. I honestly don't have a clue.
I don't even know where Guatemala is. No idea.
Well, I think Guatemala's Central America to start with, but I have no idea anyway. So what's the answer, Phil?
Would you believe it? Nathaniel Mendez Lang.
No.
8 games for Pompey, 20 for Guatemala. Who knew?
Blimey.
Wow.
Right, Scott.
6, please.
Number 6, Russia.
Oh, Smirtin.
Very good. You're on the board. That's
Purely
33 games.
Because I used to have a bet with my friend Duncan, who I stood next to in the Fratton end, every single game that Smirtin was going to score. And, of course, he never did. So I lost a lot of money.
33 games for Pompey, 56 Russian caps. So, Tom, back to you.
Have we done 5 yet?
We have not.
Go on, go for 5.
Mali.
Is that even a country?
Not
the dog.
Yeah.
Not the dog.
Not got a clue. Anyone else?
Jimmy Traore. 14 games for Pompey, 10 for Mali. Right, Reece, on to you, mate.
13, unlucky for some.
Number 13, another difficult one. Martinique.
Not Martinique.
You're missing all the easy ones here, Reece. I'm sorry.
Yeah, clearly, that's all right. No, do not have a clue. If the guys have a better idea, chip in, but not me.
You're on your own, son. No idea.
Frederick Piquion. 45 games for Pompey, 9 for Martinique.
Super Freddy.
Yeah,
right,
enough.
Scott.
I can't remember what numbers. 18?
18's gone.
What's the next one down after 18 that is available?
16.
Sorry?
16.
16 then.
Gibraltar.
I remember the player. I can't remember his name, though.
You can't say the monkey that comes over.
Oh, yeah.
So it's League 2 days, isn't it?
It's League 2 days, yes.
Oh, I should know.
88 caps for Malta.
Yeah.
I think he's still playing for them.
It's a local lad, wasn't he? Who played for Havant and Waterlooville, but I can't remember the name. So I'm 90% there. Tell me, unless someone can guess it. Centre back, wasn't he?
No, he's
No,
centre midfield.
He's a
Centre
midfielder. I remember
Yeah.
seeing him in the orange Bishop's
Yeah.
Printers shirts time,
Yeah.
but I can't remember his name.
He's got a
No. His name's Liam Walker.
Liam Walker.
Oh, that wasn't who I was thinking of.
No.
Right, on to you, Tom.
Number 10, please.
Number 10, Bulgaria.
Toddy.
Yes, exactly. Toddy.
That's
82
probably
games
the
for
easiest
Pompey.
one on the list.
I would say so. And
Yeah.
42 for 42 appearances for Bulgaria.
Where did who was that winger that we had? Where was he from?
What question is that?
Turbo Rudy.
Turbo Rudy.
Milan
Should we not
Mandaric,
go
who's from
there?
Slovenia. I can tell you a very, very quick story. I was in Slovenia, and I was in the capital Ljubljana, and there's a national football team shop, and I went in there, and I was having a look at stuff, and I got talking to the guy working there. He goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from England." He goes, "Oh, what team do you support?" And I said, "Portsmouth." He went, "Ah, Turbo Rudy," and then he disappeared. He disappeared and came up, and I kid you not, with a stack of Turbo Rudy bookmarks, and said, "Take these and give them to your friends."
Why didn't you give me one then?
Yet.
Yeah, I haven't had one.
Right, okay, Reece, on to you.
I'll take Scott's tactics. So next one down is it 15?
15, Argentina.
Oh, one of my favourite players, D'Alessandro.
Yep, Andres D'Alessandro. 13 appearances, 20.
It's a great answer.
Oh, I love that boy.
He
That
was
goal against
something
Charlton
else.
was just...
That was at the time when we used to score absolute worldies against Charlton and then go on and lose, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we won that one, though. 1-0, though, didn't we?
No, we didn't. No, we lost 2-1.
Okay. I only remember the
We
good
always
bits.
lose to Charlton, you know.
Yeah, I was right in line with that shot in that side of the ground. Yeah, I saw it go like an arrow. An absolute beauty of a goal.
Right, over to you,
I'll
Scott.
go for number 9. Has 9 gone?
Number 9, Estonia.
Should know this one. Another Premier League player, isn't it?
100 Estonia.
Probably not that many appearances for Pompey.
No, 4.
Yeah, that's
luck
what
with
I
that.
thought. That's what I thought. See, now that I would have probably gone for Adonia for Estonia, but that clearly was not right. So I'll have to give up. I'm afraid. Pass.
Anyone want to hazard a guess? He's probably the most famous man in Estonia that hasn't taken part in World's Strongest Man. Mart Poom.
The goalkeeper, of course.
Yeah.
Dear.
Right, Tom. We're on the home straight nearly. So you're up next.
I must be running out of numbers. 11?
Number 11, Uruguay. I've got a great clue.
Yeah.
I still probably won't get it, but
He's,
go on.
he's only got one leg.
Yeah, he was involved in an accident, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He's only got one leg.
he's only got one leg. Yeah.
Go on, put me out my misery.
I mean, he had 2 when he played for us.
You'd hope so.
Now, I can only remember his first name.
Go on, Scott. What was it?
It was Dario.
It was Dario Silva.
That's it.
15 appearances for Pompey and 49 for Uruguay.
He was involved in a sporting accident, wasn't he?
I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, I think he either did
I'm gonna Google
skiing
that
or
after the show.
I think he did. I think it was a skiing accident or something very unusual. It wasn't like a car crash or anything like that. It was something very, very unusual where he had to have his leg amputated below the knee. Bless him. But yeah, Dario Silva.
I think he went on to try and represent it to compete in the Paralympics as well, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay, right, Reece.
Whatever's the highest available number.
Number 14.
Schmidt.
I knew you'd fall for that. No. He hasn't played for them
Okay,
yet.
to play for, we got cap for them, didn't he? Damn. I thought he didn't. No, you're right. Yeah, he definitely didn't play.
He won Pompey Player of the Season.
Crikey. I feel like I should know it, but...
Scott, you and I have served on the PST board alongside him.
Oh, it's...
My man, Johnny Ertl.
It's Johnny Ertl, yeah.
Johnny Ertl.
Johnny Ertl,
Bless him.
Ninja Turtle.
Yes.
Yeah, bless him.
Lovely, lovely man.
He used to call me the walking man.
He didn't used to call Dario Silva that.
Wow. Too early, Phil.
You can
too
edit
early.
that out if you want.
Yeah.
All right. So, moving on. Scott.
Yes, sorry. I've got no idea what
was it
numbers are
Scott's turn?
left.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was, yeah. I've just gone, so
What-
yeah, Scott's time.
So what's the lowest number available?
The lowest number 3.
3 then, please.
Japan.
Mr. Kawaguchi.
Absolutely. Who remembers his debut?
I'll get nightmares about it, man. Him, Scott Hiley and Primus were at that point the worst Pompey players ever to grace the shirt.
I'll show you a picture one day of me and Linvoy Primus, Scott. You'll absolutely love it.
Yeah?
It's from me. I'm about the size of your boy, and it is, yeah, it's quite something.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, he was a lovely fella. Yeah, I had time for absolutely everybody.
Is number 7 available?
It's number 7 is available.
Go on, let's see what's behind that door.
Zambia.
Wonderful.
It's been mentioned.
Literally just been mentioned.
No, it was
In
unfortunately
the podcast.
about 4 hours ago now. But yeah,
Right. Okay, well, I wouldn't be able to make that connection, so you might have to help me out.
Collins and Sunburn, it?
It is Collins and Basuma.
who nearly didn't make an appearance for us.
No. 4 games he played for us. 65 times for Zambia.
Who was that Greek guy that played 10 minutes?
Theophanis Gekas.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Right, Reece. Number 4 or number 12?
Is it right? Yeah. We'll go number 4.
Number 4, Colombia.
John Viafara, is that it?
John Viafara, correct.
Yes.
What answer?
Currently in prison. Currently serving time in prison as who'd have guessed it? Part of a Colombian drugs cartel.
What the chance?
Well,
So Scott,
I guess in Colombia you've got 2 choices after you finish your football career. You either stay in football, or you become involved in nefarious activities.
Or you miss or you cause a penalty or a goal in the World Cup, and you get shot.
Well, yes, there is that as well. It's an interesting country to be sure. Right, so what?
Scott, you've
whatever
got
the
one
last
left.
one is.
Just to add a bit of jeopardy to it, everyone's got 2 points at the moment, so it's your chance to save anyone from more of this nonsense. I think you might get it, Scott.
Like the last
you might
quiz,
get
this is
it.
going to be an absolute nightmare to edit. Right, go on then.
Papua New Guinea, no. Zimbabwe.
Mr. Benjani.
Mr. Benjani Mwaruari.
Yeah.
95 appearances for Pompey, 45 for Zimbabwe. Scott, you're the winner with 3 points.
Well,
Thank
Scott,
you. I think I think winner's a bit of a strong term. I think least worst is.
Did
is
we have
best.
Nigeria, Phil? Because I was thinking Kanu. I was thinking
No, but
Johnny
we've had.
Packer.
Yeah, but it's only one. They've only got to play. They've got to be the only player to have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's why then.
And if it had gone to extra time, you'd have had the likes of Rico Hackett playing for St. Lucia, Thierry Racon for Guadeloupe, Alon Romeo for Antigua and Barbuda, Jason Roberts for Grenada, Gordon Obita for Uganda, and Romy Boko for Benin.
Wow.
Thank God you got that one, Scott. We would have been here till midnight.
You truly saved us.
I have no idea who Robbie Bocco is.
Ronnie Bocco, he was with us for quite a while. I think it was Paul Hart signed him. Kept telling us how great he was and never playing him.
Yeah, Hart wasn't the best, was he? Thanks for that, Phil. That was awesome. I thought Tom was going to run away with it then, but we all just sort of managed to get stuck in the mire of some really difficult stuff. What was I going to go on to next? I'm absolutely mashed by that. So, well, actually, no. So we were so nicely segueing on eventually after Tom saying that Pompey's season has now begun. Who can tell us what our season looked like after 9 games last season?
Not very good.
I was going to say,
1
terrible.
point, 2 points.
Where were we? Well, we were actually after 9 games. We had 0 wins, 5 draws, and 4 losses, and a goal difference of -11, thanks to Stoke and West Brom, I think. So that's compared to what we are now. I think it's difficult, isn't it? You were saying, Tom, about progress, and I think I'll be right to be disappointed, and I want everyone's opinion on this. I'll be right to be disappointed that we've only got the number of points we have at this stage of the season, or should we look at it in the context of where we are a year ago and say that the improvement is just, well, literally vast, isn't it, compared to what it was last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that, the past always informs the future, doesn't it, in sort of many walks of life. And I think whilst I think the club, myself, Pompey fans in general, all kind of quite keen to not keep looking back at, oh, look where we were last season, because eventually that argument becomes a little bit futile and pointless, because we're always looking for progress and we're in a much better position as a squad and much better position as a club. And I think a lot of things about Portsmouth Football Club have come a long way in the space of 12 months. So maybe you could argue, yes, quite rightly, we're hoping that we'd have a better start to the season because it couldn't have got very much worse than it did last year. Equally, I think the fact that winning games in the Championship is now not a formality, because any game's hard to win in the Championship, but I think the fact that we're finding wins a lot easier to come by is really, really positive. We couldn't buy a win at this point last season, and it took us right up until QPR away from home and right up until Preston at home, and that was in November, and we're top end of October, and we've got a number of wins to our name. So, but then equally, to your point in the question, there could have been a lot more out of some of those games. Some of those draws could quite easily have been wins, in my opinion. I think, as you said earlier, you look at I don't know what the word you used to describe it. Was it discipline? And maybe we get a little bit more out of the Watford game. So I think there's a sort of a case in point example. So yeah, I think a little bit of both for me, but equally, I think I'm really, really pleased with the position we're in right now.
And what we've got to remember is, Phil, that we've been largely missing the catalysts of last season's really good form, especially in the middle of the season where we went on that run with Lang scoring goals for fun and picking up some really big, impressive wins. We've done it with a different team, which is, I mean, obviously, it seems stupid to say it, but it must be huge credit to Mousinho and his organisation and his coaching staff.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would go. I think we are kind of where we'd expect to be. I think that the thing that's really stood out for me is the fact that we've inflicted Middlesbrough and Preston's only defeats of the season. So we're definitely doing something right. I think those are definitely the positives to look at, because we didn't look, if we're comparing this with last season, we didn't look like a team that would be able to do that. I would have liked to have more points. I think if we'd hung on and beaten Watford, we'd have been 1 point off the playoffs. You know, if we turned one of the other draws into a win, we'd be up there with Preston. So I'm not overly concerned. I sort of feel like a bit of a roller coaster during the season so far. Every time we put in a bad performance, I feel miserable, and every time we put in a good performance, I feel like we're gonna kick on and sort of really do something this season. So I think my ambition for the season is not really changed. I think we're going to be somewhere between where we are now and 10th. I think that's where we'll finish. It's where we'll deserve to finish, and I'll be happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. I've previously said a lot of times that, Reece, we should be a bit more like Millwall, and Millwall currently sit in 8th, showing their usual disdain for the top 6. You know, giving it away from behind, but not quite getting involved. And it's some strange teams. I mean, I was predicting Preston to go down. I think Tim predicted that Stoke would struggle, and QPR have always been a bit of a basket case in the Championship, but they're both currently in the top 6. So it seems to be a bit of a different league this year.
At the moment it is, but I mean, I think you've got to, the season is so long, these things even themselves out. And I think that, especially when the teams come down and also the teams come up, so the teams come up, they're fighting. It's always a bad idea to play the teams who come up because they want to put on a kind of good performance early on. And I do think it takes a couple of months for it to settle down. But yeah, there are teams that are doing really well. But I don't think they will be up there. But you never know. There's always one who gets really dragged in. There's always one who, bit of a surprise, who confounds the bookies, and we know that there's rarely a poor bookie about. So, yeah, I think just like us, I think things will start to settle down, and I think we'll get a little bit more consistency. I mean, if you look back still over 2025, I mean, at the end of last season, I think our 2025 performance, stats wise, I think we're 7th in the league. We can't be far off that now. So I think we've got to be pretty bullish and optimistic, especially with missing 2 key players in Murphy and Lang, and also we're not conceding last minute kind of goals that we were doing. I mean, the amount of last minute goals we conceded last year was mind-numbingly annoying. So I'm like everybody else. I'm really optimistic. I think we'll get better as time goes on. And like Tom mentioned, I think Mousinho is a fantastic coach, and I think he's one of the brightest prospects out there at the moment. And we just hope that stays on this podcast. So, but yeah, I'm really happy with where we are, and I think the league will start to settle down, and maybe some of the ones at the top will start to pull down, and those nearer the bottom will start to get into their swing of things and rise up.
Well, Tom's going to be interviewing him for the Chichester Supporters Club do next week. So I'm hoping his first question will be, can he commit to never leaving Portsmouth Football Club? We'll see how we get on with that. Before we go on to remembering Milan Mandaric, Tom, the last thing I wanted to get your opinion on was we had a piece a while ago with Hughes obviously saying how great Mousinho was, and this week I think we've had a piece about how great Mousinho thinks Hughes is. There seems to be a real great relationship between the two of them in terms of, driving this club forward, doesn't there?
Yeah, I think the two of them work incredibly well. Around about a year ago, we had both of them down in Chichester, and the kind of the dynamic was quite evident to see. I think they've got a fantastic working relationship, and I think it's Mousinho kind of quoted in that news article that you're referring to as probably one of the most important relationships at the club, and I think he's absolutely right. Let's not forget Hughes kind of precedes Mousinho, so we're going right back to, well, if Richard Hughes was around when Danny and Nicky Cowley were in charge, so that kind of shows you just how much he was involved, or how much he has been involved in this sort of concurrent rebuild that we've seen recently. And that's not just players, by the way, because the sporting director of football, whatever, is involved in the remake of the new training ground or new look training ground, kind of football operations on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, the big thing is the signings. But Richard Hughes has an awful lot to do with the strategy overall. And every time I hear Richard Hughes speak, I mean, we hear a lot more of Mousinho than we do Richard Hughes, but we all know how brilliant Mousinho is with his words, and how previous administrations at this football club, the likes of Kenny Jackett, and although I do love him, I'll throw Danny Cowley in there as well and say that they always had their hymn sheet, didn't they? They always had their script where they would kind of hit key points in an interview and then that would be it. Whereas with Mousinho, I think you just always get his raw feeling on what he's seen. I don't think Mousinho ever repeats himself twice. He will always just give you exactly what he thinks. Richard Hughes is, in terms of that footballing jargon, he's so easy to listen to whenever he's talking about any kind of aspect of the club. I just think he always nails it every single time I hear him speak to the media. And I think he is a man that knows a lot of people. I think he's a man that knows the game incredibly well. Let's not forget, even before his time at Pompey, Richard Hughes was responsible for the appointment of Rob Edwards at Forest Green Rovers. And you look at Rob Edwards has gone on to manage in the Premier League and do incredibly well at Luton, albeit didn't end particularly brilliantly. But that was very much a Richard Hughes thing. And, for a man like Richard Hughes, and you give Andy Cullen a lot of credit here, to spot someone like John Mousinho from the Oxford dressing room, the Oxford set piece setup, and the PFA, to then go, actually, you know what, you can come and be manager of Portsmouth, and to take that risk. I know Mousinho still feels an awful lot of debt for that, but also to have the proverbials to do that at a football club where you know what the fan base's reaction was going to be at the time, but to actually go, you know what, let's not worry about the reaction. Let's just let this play out. Let's see this guy in action. Let's see how good he can be, and let's back him. And that's exactly what they've done. So I think one of the single best decisions in modern Pompey history was appointing John Mousinho. I think we have Richard Hughes to thank for that an awful lot.
And also, his first game was the infamous plane over Fratton Park,
Yes,
wasn't
it
it?
was. Which I actually laughed about with him at the training ground about 6 months ago. He found it incredibly funny.
One thing if I ever get to speak to him, one thing I will ask him is what he's learnt from Riley Towler to now, because obviously Towler was his first acquisition and kind of gave us a clue as to which direction the club was going in terms of what we were going to be signing. Diamonds to be polished, if you like, and I'd like to know what he thinks, how his journey's been from Riley to where he is now. If you ever get a chance to ask him, Tom, ask him that on my behalf, if you would, and let me know what the answer is, because I think that would be quite interesting, because I think you must end up learning things as you go through this process. He's had some failures, and he's still going to have failures in the future. Hopefully there are more successes, and we hope people like Blair and the likes are going to come through and provide that growing conveyor belt through the club of this young talent that's going to come in. So it'd be interesting to see what he says about that. So on to another huge influence on Portsmouth Football Club, and the sad news this week that Milan Mandaric passed at the age of 87 following a short illness. Obviously, people of our age, Tom, remember Milan a bit more vividly than people of your generation, I guess, because you probably would have heard quite a lot from your dad about him, but you wouldn't have experienced it in real time. So he was an interesting character, wasn't he, Phil and Reece? He united the club. I don't think there's anyone that's ever worked with him that has anything bad to say about him, because he seemed to be just a wonderfully warm man and a very personable person to be in the comfort with. But he did sack 4 managers in 3 years, and finally hit gold with Harry. And as you rightly pointed, and as was rightly pointed out in I think in Jordan Cross's article this week, the collapse of the ITV Digital allowed us to speculate and accumulate when other clubs were struggling, and we managed to take advantage of that and put together a squad that ran away with the championship in 2003. And of course, he brought Prosinecki to the club, which is, by far and away the best player I've ever seen play live in any level of football. So, I will always be thankful for that. I think he paid £1 million out of his own pocket, Milan, for Prosinecki to come. And, that doesn't seem unusual. That seems unusual these days. And I'm sure it's pretty much against, league rules. But, 30 years ago, that was, people were being paid left, right and centre for all sorts of different reasons. So, Phil, Reece, what are your memories of him? And I'll come to you, Tom, at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of in the heyday, wasn't it, of when we were new owner and everything else. And I mean, the 4 owners in 3 years. By the end of that, everybody was calling him Milan Mandaric. I mean, we just thought that this is just not going to end well. But actually, the combination of his utter impatience, getting, I guess, lucky with Redknapp. I think we sold Pete Crouch to Villa for 5 million, and the collapse in the ITV deal all came together to produce one phenomenal season that turned, well, we thought this is going to be bang average, and then 2-0 down at Palace, and suddenly we win 3-2. Jason Crowe scores, and just something we never turned back. And Paul Merson as well was there. I mean, it was a bonkers time, which actually it was such a big period of success for us that we hadn't had for many years. But I mean, you've got to say no matter whether you think he was lucky or not, he said he was going to get us the Premiership, and he did. And I think that's my memory of it. It's such a great season, that season where we just absolutely blitzed the Championship. It's some of the best football I can remember, and some of the best away days and things like that. So I will always be kind of hugely grateful for him. I think that just reflects on the kind of guy who he was. I think Redknapp has said they used to argue all the time, and he's very passionate. But then afterwards, come down and they have a glass of wine, and they'll all kind of be friends again. And I think that probably would be his undoubted strength if he got annoyed about something. But he just wanted success, and that's why he got rid of those managers so quickly. You look back, you probably say, yeah, they weren't great and they didn't perform. So rest in peace, Milan. You certainly brought a lot of joy to my life and a lot of my friends' lives over that period.
Well, 1997 was the start of the Anoraks, wasn't it? The first internet supporters club that we all met on, either directly or indirectly. So we can blame that for our friendship, Reece, if you want to.
Yeah.
And so, Phil, he seemed, I mean, he was loved wherever he went. He certainly loved at Leicester and certainly loved at Sheffield Wednesday, although I think his record at handing over clubs to subsequent owners could possibly be under question. Massive success at Leicester, obviously, but he did sell us to Gaydamack. I think perhaps that passion clouded his judgment on occasions, but he seemed to always fly by the seat of his pants.
Yeah, but it seemed to work more often than it didn't. So that was the joy.
Correct.
But he was it was great. He was it's the cliche about he gets the club, but he really did get the club. He understood the fan base. He was he was very much a sort of a man of the people. You don't really hear of chairman sort of interacting with fans in the way that he did. He was a showman. I think a lot of that came from his time, obviously in the States. But I will never forget the picture of him sitting on a digger with a hard hat. That was one of his finest moments. But as you say, Scott, bringing Prosinecki, paying for him with the money out of his pocket. I remember that Palace game that we were mentioning earlier. There's a story, hopefully not an apocryphal story, about how half-time Simon Jordan, everyone loves Simon Jordan, obviously, I went up to him and said, Redknapp, let's see how good your manager is now. Mandaric responded to words effect of, it's half-time, mate. Let's see what happens at full-time. Obviously, Mandaric had the last laugh. Yeah, his times under him, got to see some players that we wouldn't necessarily have expected to see at that point in our journey supporting the club. And fond memories. And such a shame. It's a shame that he's no longer with us.
Yeah, that Palace game where Redknapp completely changed the formation at half time and we banged in 3 goals. I mean, so what you like about Redknapp, sometimes he pulled out some absolute genius tactics and we never looked back after that. Tom, obviously, someone of your generation, it's a bit of a legendary story rather than someone who you grew up with. What have you heard about those very early Premiership years and the Championship years? Because honestly, I can tell you that the Championship in the mid-90s, when me and my friends, we used to turn up to the pub about 2:00. And it was only 15 minutes walk from Fratton Park, and we'd be literally looking at our watches at 10 to 3, and because it was pay on the day, you could go or you didn't, or if you didn't want to, you didn't go, and we'd be going, thought it, we'll get another pint, and we went out drinking all afternoon because going to Fratton Park was just not a great experience, and that's why we were having crowds of 9, 10, 11,000 in the mid-90s, unheard of these days, obviously. What have you heard of those times and the great times that Milan brought to us?
I can't really add an awful lot to what you guys have already said. I mean, I can't pinpoint exact games where Milan have been involved with Harry, etc. But what I can say is 2 things: is that in the you might know it, Scott, the Go South music that plays out my videos at the end. If you listen to it all the way through, there's a line that says, "Milan, you really woke us up, and now you've even took us up. Milan, we love you till we die, till we reach the sky. It's time to say goodbye to the nationwide." And I think that's probably the kind of the best way to surmise my particular knowledge of the great man. And the second thing I would say is that, to put, although I can't speak from your guys' experience of him himself as an owner, because he was sort of had gone, but by the time I was kind of actually physically able to take football on and actually appreciate it. But in a time now, in a modern day era, whereby there are so many badly run clubs up and down the country, Sheffield Wednesday is your extreme example. For a man to very sadly pass and then have the fan bases of all 3 clubs that he oversaw come out in such an outpouring of emotion and love and support for the family, I think says an awful lot. And I don't think you'd get that from many owners of football over the years. And I think that probably tells you everything you need to know, is that he was a man that was loved for being who he was, and a man that is universally loved around the fan bases of the respective teams that he managed. It's not like he came to Pompey, did a great job, and then went elsewhere and absolutely tore the place apart. He was actually just genuinely loved it. And my favourite thing about this whole week is the quote that Pompey was his favourite club. And I think that's really, really nice to hear, even though obviously Wednesday and Leicester fans love him. The fact that Pompey was his favourite club, I just think is absolutely brilliant. And I'm glad that we very much stayed in his thoughts long after he was involved at the club. And I don't think he actually came back too long ago, did he? I saw there was the pitch that they released of him. He was in the director's box maybe last season. So sending all the best to his family, because I can imagine that's will be a real hole in their lives to lose a character like Milan, who's someone they were very close to. And for everyone that remembers him and will remember him fondly, I'm sure we've all raised a glass to Milan in the last week or so.
Absolutely, well said. And as we used to sing in very loud voices from the Fratton end, there is only one Milan. So rest in peace, Milan Mandaric. Well, that was an absolute stormer of a pod, and I'd like to thank Tom for guesting this week. You've certainly kept us chatting, mate, because
I have a tendency to do that. Sorry,
we've doubled our usual running time, so I do hope that everyone who's listening manages to stay with us to the end. It's been a pleasure hosting this again this week, and we will be back in probably 3 weeks' time because of the international break. So until then, I hope all of you have a great couple of 3 weeks and play up Pompey, and we'll speak to you again. Cheers and good night.